Thank you. It's great to be joining you today from San Francisco. And of course, I'd rather be with you in person to talk about saving the planet, the most important topic for us at Startup Genome and for all of us. We believe entrepreneurs and startup ecosystems must lead the fight against climate change and work to create global category leaders of the net zero economy. And while many talk about the innovation gap in clean tech, we believe that if we could scale all of these innovations, we might already be halfway or all the way there to a net zero economy. But it's not the case. In clean tech, very few startups succeed to scale, and they die or they remain small. But without them scaling, we cannot reach the massive impact needed to save the planet. So we talk about solving the scale-up gap in clean tech, and we'll invite you to join us towards that goal. The challenges that the clean tech startups face are very big. Unlike software startups that offer a solution that has an inherent cost advantage, replacing labor with high variable cost with software that has a near zero marginal cost. And in clean tech, the solution starts with a huge cost disadvantage with low economies of scale after investing a lot of money and a lot more time and skills, industry and technical skills into creating a solutions after years of work. But then they fight against traditional solutions that have huge economies of scales and decades of production experience. Second, and even more important, they face very fragmented markets. In software, almost every tech buyer of software solutions find themselves in San Francisco, New York, or London, or sometimes the three of them. And so as a startup, you go there and you can sell to the largest corporations in search of solutions. In clean tech, solutions cut across 5 sectors and dozens of industries. And the industry players are fragmented across each country and across sometimes segments and further segmented by product category. So of course, these are very almost insurmountable challenges for young startups. They cannot surmount them alone. So we must work together to remove those barriers that hold back the successful scaling and massive impact. And we believe we can overcome these barriers by forming global network solutions that unite capital, expertise, and public policy. So we're calling everyone locally, local leaders to join us in creating those global markets, global network solutions by merging our communities. We've created a movement together with the Clean Tech Group, Engine, Cycle Capital, Climate Launchpad, and others to join our networks or communities to form those solutions across 4 different solutions. So first of all, creating a global green angel network. Seed funding is very local, hyper local, and if we could create a deal flow across high net worth individual in many countries across the world, we would bring access to startups, to industry expertise in those countries, business expertise, but also customer introductions from those investors. And that would help solve the problem of those nationally fragmented industries, but also bring a lot more technical expertise and industry expertise to those startups, because in every city, too few angel investors have expertise across all of the different types of clean tech solutions. Number 2, we want to build more patient capital and across early and late stage. And that means combining venture investors with climate-driven foundations and government funds that are looking for climate impact instead of financial return. So as a hybrid fund that can be more patient and we can provide also higher returns to the venture investors. Thirdly, bringing scaling skills and business experience from the tech ecosystems, our brothers and sisters, where many different executives have scaled a business across each function to $100 million in sales, and can come and mentor the clean tech entrepreneurs and executives. For this purpose, we've created a new program that brings scaling skills from mentors all over the world that also become the global business network of the clean tech startups. And fourth, and most important, working with our governments and innovation agency leaders to shape and put in place a new type of demand side policy. Not supply side policies where we create more startups, more experiments, many of which fail or never scale, but demand side policies and procurement laws that are aligned across many countries and large cities, so that we can create large market opportunities that enable really deployment-led innovations and a creation of global winners, as opposed to many experiments that die. In Europe, and it's also a similar problem in other regions, across countries, across industries, you have different rules, different regulations, procurement laws, languages, and that makes it very difficult to scale. So we need to bring many countries not to create demand-side policies that favor their local startups, but actually work together to align their demand-side policies to create large market opportunities. I'll give you an example. So my favorite one is in carbon negative concrete, where one of my friends who used to work in for Bechtel and now works for another large project organization. And he was saying that, we don't put anything in the ground that's not been in the ground for 20 years. So how do we break that without a set of procurement laws and that says something like, within 2 years, 3 years, we need 1% of carbon negative concrete in all our large projects. Within 5 years, we need 5% to force the adoption and the trial and the adoption and create scale for those carbon negative concrete solutions. So we've started, as I said, we started working on it. And I invite you to go to startupgenome.com/E4C-movement. Again, startupgenome.com/E4C-movement to read and sign our manifesto. And, as business leaders, as startup leaders, as corporate leaders, government leaders, innovation leaders, we're responsible for driving these solutions together and put them into action. So I invite you to join us. I invite you to join us also at the cleantech group, cleantech forum San Francisco. That's going to start on January 24th. And we're going to start working on those solutions together and other solutions because this is needed, that we put together across the different sub-communities of corporations and startups and governments work together to create those solutions so that we can at last scale many green solutions and save the planet. Thank you.